Radhe Shyam, Radhe Radhe. How you
Radhe,
doing, brother?
Radhe. Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, very well. And yourself?
Pretty sweet, yeah.
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 Really appreciate you taking the time out to be with us.
Honestly, such an honor to be asked, really. And, I love you, so I would
Yeah.
have to do it.
Feelings are definitely mutual. Feelings are definitely mutual. For those of you guys that are tuning in, let me know where you're tuning in from. I really appreciate all you guys jumping on during the midday. Um, Although having said that, probably a lot of people don't have much going on at the moment, so it's probably fair that many people will want to join in. Katswara, thank you so much for joining the conversation. Smita, Yvette Targo, so many people joining in. Wonderful, thank you so much. So those of you that don't know Charlie, Charlie and I have been sharing kirtan and yoga in many different places, many different events,
Motion
raising
detected in
awareness
the
for
front
so many
yard.
wonderful causes. And I'm really blessed and grateful to somehow have been connected with him in this lifetime, because I think that he's someone that really does share with his heart. He really does want the best for his students, wants the best for those that participate in kirtan, the best for those that participate in his yoga asana classes. And to speak of his humility, even though he's named the Humble Warrior, when I was looking online for some sort of bio to kind of introduce him nicely, I couldn't find anything about himself. And that was really kind of striking, because it made me kind of think, yeah, this is someone that's actually humble. He's not about himself. And so that's why we decided to speak about this topic of the ego, and how that manifests, etc. And the reason why this kind of came up in my mind is because of this topic in the Vedic literatures, which is called the false ego. So the ego is kind of identified as being your identity, who you are. And the false ego is that which is not you. So that which is like greed, envy, lust, all these things which aren't you, falsely identifying with your body, for example. But I want to just see what Charlie's thoughts were, just off the cuff, anything that kind of came to mind on this topic of the ego, or where it kind of sprung, what thoughts came to mind when you heard this?
Oh, wow. Well, the ego, I've had like different stories about the ego as I've grown up. My mum used to be a lecturer, and she used to do hypnosis, and like she did this thing called ego strengthening, right? So I was brought up with this idea that you wanted a strong ego, this kind of presentation to the world of yourself, which is like robust and solid,
Right.
kind of how, like a real portrayal of who you think you should be and how you think people should be seeing you. So I grew up with that kind of narrative about the ego. And then as I began to look more broadly into how to find peace, not just through hypnosis and that kind of thing, there was a totally different interpretation of the ego, really, which was something which actually wanted to be diminished in a way. This, as you said, like this full sense of self, where you're trying to puff your chest up and you're trying to act like the big I am, and
Yeah, right.
around doing your stuff and trying to get everyone to look at you. And that the reason why that it should be diminished, or there's a theory that it should be diminished, is because it's not really you. It's not really who you are. It's who you're wanting to portray yourself as. And you go, well, why do I want to portray myself as something other than what I am? And there's often like a fear inside of us that we're trying to mask over. So I have kind of come to understand that the sort of bigger the bravado, the bigger the sort of needing for attention in this very sort of can be incredibly charming, charismatic way. Like they've refined it very beautifully.
Yeah, right.
Some of these people, but underneath it, there's like, no, please look at me. No. If I don't have your attention, then who am I without your approval? And that observation of the ego, or that interpretation of the diminution of the ego, really resonated with me, because I could see so much of myself in that, like dressing a particular way, like even changing the way that I spoke. Like I went to a boarding school, and I wasn't really from a particularly posh background or anything. And then I started changing the way that I dressed. I started changing the way that I spoke, so I would be accepted by the people around me. And, I started talking even posher than I kind of sound now. There's still residual that coming through, I know. Told me. But, I really tried to mold myself in a way, present an ego that would allow me to be safe. And that's what it was about. It was like, if I fit into this society that I'm like forced into, then I'm going to be safe. And I was thinking, and then, you know, this progression of spiritual inquiry came, and how there must be a more sustainable way of feeling safe. There must be a more sustainable way of being safe without having to kind of present yourself in a way that only fits the demographic that surrounds you.
Wow.
And then that came into like a observation and a yearning to want to find what that is. Like, how can I be okay with myself, who I am, how I am? And not needing the approval of others to validate myself.
Wow.
And that was terrifying, because I felt I didn't have that sort of safety stronghold at the time, but also I didn't want to engage in the other kind of ego strengthening stuff that I was kind of brought up on. So I felt very vulnerable and unsure of everything. And it was that unsureness of everything that liberated me. Actually, I haven't got a clue. I have absolutely no idea.
Wow.
See, everyone's trying to act in a particular way to try and fit in, to try and get this out of that person, get that out of the other person. And I just realized, it's all just a big story. It's all just a big drama that everyone's just trying to like hoodwink the next person to, like, you know, play the game. Oh my God, it's madness. Let's stop playing the game, and let's be loving towards each other, however the people show up, right?
That's so beautiful. I mean, I really resonate with these points that you're sharing about how kind of we build up this persona based on our environment. And, you know, this kind of theme is very clearly portrayed in the Sastra and the scripture and the Vedic literatures, about how, because of our association with matter, because of our association with this material energy, the different, for example, nations, different identities based on the body, that I am a man, I am a woman, I am black, I am white, I'm Indian, etc., etc., etc. Because of so much association with this matter, we've come to this point of not really knowing who we are. And I'm not just talking about who I am as a personality, like who I am like that, but in terms of this deeper identity of, dare I say it, the soul. And in that way, it's understood that if one comes to this point of seeing that I'm not the body, I am the soul, like a bird within a cage. If I can get to that point of understanding, then I can actually treat people with love, can treat people as my brothers, as my sisters, regardless of where they come from, what their opinions are, etc. I can see past that. I can see, you know, the soul that's caged within this body. So I really resonate with that point that you're sharing, that we're trying to get to this point of purifying kind of this outer covering, purifying this outer shell, to this point where we can see that I'm not this body, that I'm just this bird trapped within a cage.
Absolutely. I think it's beautiful to begin to look at the world through that perspective. Also then, like, really searching for the similarities rather than the differences, you know, in everybody, in every conversation, in every way that people dress or engage, and try and look beyond what they're saying and actually see what it is that they're trying to communicate. Go, oh, you're wanting my approval, or you're wanting to reject me so you align with your previous ideas. Oh, that's okay, I understand that. Like, you know, I've done that loads before. It's all good. We can still be friends. Like,
right. Yeah, no, it's totally true. This point of non-judgment comes in when you can come to the realization that you're not just this covering. Then you can sort of allow the judgment of others to pass. You can kind of free yourself from that constant need of wanting attention, and also recognize that in others, and then also give them the opportunity to relax their guard a little bit. Like, you know, when, for example, in the yoga scene, there's this whole thing of looking a certain way, acting a certain way, wearing the certain type of clothes. And I was speaking with Adam Hustler about the same kind of topic. And he said, you kind of have to go through that in life. You kind of have to go to a point where you exhaust that, you go beyond that before you start, in one sense, maturing and being able to, you know, see through the mud, if you know, if that's one way of saying it.
Yeah.
I mean, have you had any experiences yourself with kind of recognizing your ego playing up, your false ego playing up? And have you kind of, what have you done in your life to kind of purify that, if that's the question?
I see my ego popping up all the time, man. Like,
yeah, right. Me too.
Left, right, and center every time. is so cunning and baffling and powerful and sneaky, and you finally I'm trying not to swear. This is my new thing at the moment. I finally reached enlightenment, and then just because I've thought that, I've gone, oh yeah, like I've lost it, I've lost it, and trying to, recently I was in India taking some people on retreat. It was really not, it was more of a, it wasn't really a retreat. I mean, there was no peace at all. It was totally frantic and magic and chaotic.
India at its best.
Yeah, absolutely. In Holi, it was mad. It was beautiful.
Wow.
But there was me just trying to manage everything, all the time, and try and be in control, make sure everyone's having a good experience, and all that kind of but it's going to reflect on me, and they're going to, oh God, and it's not about me. It's not about me. Yeah. And just continually reminding myself, it's not about me. Like, I can show up and be the best I can, only the best I can be in that moment. I'm not anywhere near perfect, that's for sure. And, I talk a lot in class about particular ways of conducting yourself and particular ways of living. And I mean, I really don't live up to a lot of those things a lot of the time. It's, if I did, I would be a saint. I'm not a saint, a regular person just trying to do the practice bit by bit, day by day, moment by moment. And it just edges towards the direction I want to be going in, but I'm certainly so far away from the destination,
Yeah, and so much of this, like what you're speaking about your experience in India, so much of the ego has a lot to do with another concept, humility, of understanding that, it's not that I think less of myself, it's just that I think about myself less, putting myself less in the center. This nice quote of everyone wants to be at the front of the bus, at the back of the church, and in the center of attention. And it's just kind of letting go of that kind of desire to want to always be in the center. That can also kind of fuel the ego that I am something, do you know who I am? Do you know where I've taught? Do you know what I've been sharing, et cetera, et cetera. So this humility needs to somehow pervade our consciousness, needs to enter into our awareness that it's not that I think less of myself, it's just I think about myself less. And I think that also has something to do with kind of seeing that you are, I'm speaking only for myself, and only a small part of this whole universe, that, in this huge world with so many different planets, in this one planet, the Earth planet, there's a country called United Kingdom. And in that United Kingdom, there's a city called London. And in London, there's one boy, Radhika, who's sitting here and he thinks he's very big. Yeah. This point of thinking that actually, it's not that I am lowest of the low, but rather divinity is so great, so grand, so amazing, so beautiful, that in comparison, who am I to think that I am something? So this point that kind of almost reminding myself that I'm not in the center. I mean, any thoughts that come off just from hearing that?
Yeah, I mean, resonate with totally. It's just perception, isn't it? Perspection. And when I get myself all wound up by a particular situation, I've lost the understanding of the magnificence of the universe. I'm just caught up in my own little drama in that microsecond. And the truth is, it's going to pass, right? And it's going to be fine, whatever. But if I zoom out and go, oh, actually, it's not such a big deal, and zoom out a little further, my God, I just what am I worrying about anything at all,
Right.
It's just a moment in time, and it's my judgment, my preconceived ideas about how I think it should and shouldn't be going down is leading me away from a state of yoga, a state of union.
Beautiful.
So the less I can engage and feed the ego drama, the more possible time there is to be in union, in yoga, in oneness, in a state of being where nothing is missing.
Wow. I mean, guys, if you're listening to this and you're resonating with anything, hit that love button, share some comments, share some experiences of your own, perhaps, that you can share, that, you felt that your ego was kind of taking over, and how you dealt with that. What did you do in your life to kind of deal with that? Or how are you constantly on a day-to-day basis dealing with that? If you are at all, please share your thoughts, any questions, please keep them coming through. But I wanted to ask Charlie, in terms of kind of your spiritual practice, is there anything that kind of helps you on a daily basis that you don't mind sharing with people that are listening, that can help them to kind of come to this point of humility, or come to this point of realizing that I am not in control?
Seva, you know, really being of service is for me the biggest ego sort of dissolver there is, really. When I am being of service to someone else, I'm not thinking about myself. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. And the more I am not thinking about myself, the less opportunity there is for this ego to be strengthened, for these narratives to get more ingrained in my behaviors. So just by continually flicking my attention onto something that isn't myself, and who can I call, who can I be of service to, how can I help my wife, how can I help some students, how can I go out and feed some people, you know, these things which are actually really simple, but people, well, I certainly got so caught up, how is it going to help somebody else going to sort out my problem right now? You know, and it totally does. It gives it space for me to get a little bit more like kind of distance from it, so I can see it from a different angle. And then when I come back to it, I know the answer instantly. You know, by taking my attention away from me allows me to be able to move through life more freely, with more grace. And really seeing God in everything, seeing the divine in everything, just allows me to go, oh God, that's just so not about my ego and me.
You know, wow.
Everything in the universe is just so exactly perfect, and it's only my mind. That's it. It's only my mind that makes it anything other than exactly perfect. Oh, what a relief! That is such a relief. Honestly, there's such a weight off when I realize that.
Completely. I can completely resonate with that. I can completely feel that, because even in my life, for example, when you were speaking about this principle of seva, to step away from one's own kind of circle of control in one sense, and to try and see how I can affect someone else's life, to menially try and serve them. It might be even just, you know, give them a smile. That can be seen as a seva. You know, just like, for example, we go for walks every day, my wife and I, and I learned this when I was in Italy, because in Italy people are quite friendly. In the morning, if you go for a walk, everyone will say buongiorno, or giorno, buongiorno. You know, they'll just say hello to anyone that's passing by. And so I just made it a habit that anyone that I pass on the street, I'm just going to say hello to them. Yeah. And sometimes it just becomes like a second nature thing. And just that one smile, just that one hello can go a mile. Like, they can be in their own world, like really kind of looking really intense and, you know, stressed out, but that one smile and hello can just kind of change the whole dynamic. And even going even further, you know, serving people through serving food, or serving them with your time, or this principle of seva has come up so much. So many people are talking about it. I'm just wondering, like, in terms of you and your life, is there a seva that you feel as soon as you enter into that seva, you immediately feel connected with divinity, or immediately feel spiritually connected?
I think really teaching all my asana classes, all my yoga classes, I turn up and I'm not there for me. You know, there is one priority for me, whether I achieve it or not. And I think, you know, it's really hard to be a yoga teacher. It's quite a fucking undertaking.
Yeah.
To bring people into a state of being where nothing is missing. But that is absolutely my intention. I have no other intention of like trying to gain followers or you know, boost my Instagram, or
right.
you know, try and make a living for myself. My one intention while I'm in that yoga class is, what can I say to this group of people that might be able to get them to shift their perception away from themselves so that they can sit more comfortably.
That's so amazing. I mean, and I can actually vouch for you on that one, because I tried for like literally 20 minutes, half an hour right now, to find some like facts about Charlie, try and find some like pictures where I could kind of like find some information. And there's nothing, there's like literally nothing online. And yet when you go to a yoga class with Charlie, like, for a fact, there's going to be people in there that immediately resonate with what you're saying, immediately kind of understand your style, your vibe, etc. Ruth Garner just goes, Charlie, you're the greatest teacher. So, I mean, people are vibing with you. And so this principle of not trying to gain name, fame, prestige is so important, because even though it's almost ironic that we're doing this on a platform like Instagram, which is almost like a personification of that envy and trying to get that name and fame, it's just kind of bringing this to the awareness, bringing this to at least the surface for people to understand.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have been hung up on Instagram and social media ever since it really ever since, well, before I became a yoga teacher.
Yeah.
And so, you know, this period where we're all locked away in our houses and I've started doing online classes, I've got, oh my God, am I being total hypocrite? Maybe I am. But what is my intention behind it?
Right.
Intention behind doing these online classes? And it was because so many people were saying, Charlie, if you're back, if you're free, can you please do something online for us? And
Yeah, right.
cool. Like, let's give it a go. I don't particularly enjoy talking to a camera. I much prefer being in a group of people and feeling their energies and feeling how they are
And hugging it out.
Totally, hugging it out. Exactly, right? But if it's of service, then I will do it. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. The point of intention that, you know, what is your why? Why are you doing what you're doing? And this is a great, you know, opportunity for reflection. This is a great chance to kind of just step back and say, why the hell am I doing this? What is the point of doing this? You know, and many people, I'm sure, will be kind of going through the movements of thinking, why am I in the job that I'm in right now? Or, you know, this is so beautiful to spend this time with my family. Why don't I do this more? And so I really see this opportunity right now as an opportunity, as opposed to kind of like turmoil and distress. And I think we need to kind of move into this consciousness, this awareness that this is a fantastic, fantastic time for not loneliness. Let's flip it. It's a fantastic time for solitude, for going deep. You can't go outside, go inside, try and do some work there. And if you're wasting this opportunity, who knows when you'll ever get it again? So, you know, make the most of it while you've got it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what are you doing, Radhika? I mean, you are in this conversation certainly the spiritual giant here.
No, come on.
In your free time. Honestly, I look up to you and I see your smile and how you conduct yourself. You know, beautiful, magnificent.
I'm embarrassed, Charlie. Yeah, I'm not doing much. I'm just trying to become a sevak, someone that's trying to serve. And yeah, I can't say much more. It's difficult to speak about oneself when we're talking about the ego and humility. So I'm just trying to see this as an opportunity, if I'm honest, and, you know, spend more time with my wife, to see this as an opportunity for serving my parents, who I live with also. We have a wonderful home where we can all spend time together. And I think for me right now is a time where I want to do all the stuff that was on the list to-dos. Like, I want to read more. I want to spend more time with the Srimad Bhagavatam, spiritual literature. I want to spend more time in my japa meditation, chanting on the beads that I chant on. I want to spend more time on my health. Like every time I meet Charlie, Charlie's like, so, you know, have you started practicing anything? I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm just sat in front of a harmonium the whole time. So this is a wonderful time for me to kind of just absorb myself in those practices, I think.
Lovely.
Yeah. I wanted to see, Charlie, if you wanted to do a meditation with us, if you wanted to chant with us, maybe. The floor is yours.
Oh, floor's mine. Gosh. Yeah, sure, we can do something. I mean, it would seem an opportunity missed if you and I maybe didn't do some chanting for everybody.
I mean, from my side, I won't chant because the delay on the chord and all this kind of thing will mess up your chanting, but I want to hear you chant.
Oh,
so if you have a harmonium in and around that you can just jump on, then I think it would be lovely to have you sing a little bit.
Okay, let's see. Let me 1 second.
No worries. By the way, guys, let me know where you guys are tuning in from. Anything that resonated for you there, anything that really struck you, anything that you want to ask Charlie about. Harmonium, Kirtan, Insta Live class, Radhika. Smita, I would love to do that, and I'm doing that on Wednesday with Kirtan London. I'll give a few shout outs as well. Hey Ruth, hope you're well. Amy, hope you're well. Just Haley Coleman, hope you're well. Holly, I see you came on as well. I hope everything's well in Vrindavan. Let us know what's going on in Vrindavan. I know you're out there with Tommy.
Nice. Yeah, Vrindavan, wow. I mean, we had a wonderful experience in Vrindavan in November, which was, you know, hugely powerful again, as most of the trips to India seem to be. It's such an honor to spend some time with you in the practice, you know, where both of us who spend a lot of time in front of other people teaching, we could just really be in our practices together. It was a wonderful experience for me. So thank you.
Yeah, it's an honor. So I really recommend it when everything kind of goes back to as it was, even though it may never go back to where it was. But I really recommend people taking time out of their lives to go to sacred places in India, for example, like Vrindavan or Rishikesh, or places which have significant value in yeah, just in the environment, in the association, and the energy, being able to bring out real purity in the heart, to be away from the camera, to be away from the audience. If you're a teacher, to be away from that, and to just see what is the essence of this practice, to connect us with divinity. Yeah, definitely take time out. I know Holly's there, Radhe Radhe from us both. So I know they must be watching from Vrindavan.
And Swami T as well.
Swami T.
Tommy Taylor.
Oh, I was trying to wonder. I was like, do I know Swami T?
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
Tommy.
yeah. You know Swami T. Everyone knows.
Everyone nowadays knows Tommy. Hari Vallabhi loved what Charlie said about going back and looking at his intention for using social media and offering online classes. Thank you. Really appreciate that, Hari Vallabhi.
Also, you know, part of the thing with social media is that we can spend so much time on it when there could be so much we could spend. It's quite easy to spend an hour on social media. It's a lot harder to spend an hour sitting down and meditating or reading some spiritual.
Definitely.
The benefit of it is so rich, you know, to be able to prioritize that. And you don't even have to prioritize that in this time. Luckily enough, we're not really working. You can spend an hour on social media and an hour reading books.
Yeah, you can do both.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So really, I think, you know, in this time that we're all kind of locked away, I wanted to chant to Ganesha to remove obstacles. Anything that is getting in the way of you and your ability to see the divine in each and every single moment, your ability to remove anything that is preventing you from being your most loving self. And often when we get confined in our houses with housemates and often family and you know, even loved ones, sometimes we can get on each other's nerves a little bit, and it's very, you know, so people don't live in big flats in London, and you know, to have a mantra that allows us just to release, to remove those blockages, those obstacles, which is the ego, really. Oh God, I'm getting a bit frustrated because you're blinking too loudly or something, you know. And just like have it removed, take it, remove it. And this is the Ganesha, and it's taking refuge in the energy of Ganesha. And the mantra is Ganesha Sharanam, Sharanam Ganesha. I hope it doesn't sound too funny on the audio with the harmonium. I know this hasn't been worked out too well for me recently. But...
Well, what I would say, Charlie, is maybe move the harmonium a little bit back, because then it doesn't... then we can hear your voice. Yeah, from the side even. Yeah, that's fantastic. Better. Thank you.
Thank you. It's wonderful working with professionals. Is that better? Okay, so we won't do call and response, because I have this philosophy that the medicine is in the mantra, and if we're only chanting half the time, we're only receiving half the mantra, half the medicine. So it's Ganesha Sharanam, Sharanam Ganesha. 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 Ganesha Sharanam. Sharanam Ganesha, Ganesha Sharanam, 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 Sharanam Ganesha. Ganesha Sharanam, Sharanam Ganesha, 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 Ganesha Sharanam Ganesha, Ganesha Sharanam, 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 Sharanam Ganesha. Just feel that mantra vibrate in every single cell of your body, removing the obstacles, the impurities between you and your most elevated divine self. Have it all, offer it up. Know that it no longer serves you. Know that you are something significantly more elevated than your fears, your egos, and your agitations. Just feeling that stillness. Wave after wave of stillness arises from within, with no blockages, no obstacles to allow this divine energy to flow out through our thoughts, through our words, and through our actions. Bring this intention forward with you for the rest of the day, the rest of the week, the rest of the month, and the rest of your years. Ganesha Sharanam, Sharanam Ganesha. Radhe.
Thank you so much. If you appreciated that meditation, please do share some appreciation with that. You know where that love button is. Hit it as hard as you can until your phone breaks open. Thank you so much, Shadi. I really appreciated you sharing that meditation. I felt myself, for the first time today, be able to just still the mind. You know, I've had a day where I've tried to do a lot of things, keep my mind active, but it's also been a blessing just to kind of be here, be now, be able to consolidate that, you know, this removal of obstacles needs to be done. And to also send that energy out. And even though I wasn't able to chant, because if I chanted, there would be a delay and it would have ruined the experience for everyone. So I just kept my eyes closed and tried to chant with my mind. It's called Manasi Seva, to try and serve with the mind. And yeah, it was beautiful to be able to do that with you. Thank you so much. It almost makes me miss you more now in person. What to do.
I mean, we'll I'm sure when we see the end of this isolation, we'll be having something come together. Definitely get everyone
some
together.
sort of celebration.
Totally, chanting, asana, maybe even some food. I don't know.
Let's do it.
Do it. Bringing everyone together in the sake of union. And actually, there's something earlier on I wanted to say again about the ego and about association.
Please.
Right. So your sangha is so important. Your satsang, your group of people who you surround yourself with, really has such a profound impact on how you view the world. And if the people you find yourself surrounded with are also operating from their fears and from their egos and from this bravado, this trying to portray themselves as something other than what they are, notice it and just try and seek out people who are genuinely trying to be authentic, who are genuinely trying to see the divine in each and every single person and each and every single moment, and it will begin to transform your life. Your Sangha, I can't really emphasize the importance of Sangha because it continually reinforces that spiritual ideal about how we want to experience the world.
Definitely.
So in this time, what Emma said on one of your previous things was like less texting and more talking. I thought that was fantastic. You know, pick up the phone, have a chat with people, like-minded people who are set out on the path to raise their vibration.
Definitely. I feel like that's unbelievably hasn't been mentioned in so many days, and it's so nice that you brought that to the forefront. And obviously, you know, we can't associate in person right now, but this virtual Sangha is possible, this virtual satsang is possible, because, you know, it's understood that if you want to get faith in divinity, or if you want to get purification, then also spend time in association with those who are also looking for that, and that will amp it up almost for you. And so, yeah, I'm blessed. I'm sure you are also with Robbie to be in association of wonderful personalities who can kind of amp it up and to intensify those feelings of longing for seeking spirituality in our lives. By the way, how is Robbie? What's she been up to since she got back?
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, we've both been isolating since we got back, but
is she around?
She's hiding in the other room. Yeah. But she's great. I've been doing a lot of asana practice. She's just come back from her yoga training and desperate to want to teach. So I've been doing hours and hours of asana, it seems, which is great. Yeah, you know, we're just looking at what we're going to be doing next, where we're going to be going, because this situation has evolved. So we're going to be leaving our apartment, which was a big kind of anchor for us.
Wow, yeah.
But also a hindrance as well. You know, it prevented us from moving and exploring and seeing different aspects of the world. So we'll see what happens in the coming time.
Wow, amazing. And is there any experiences that she had in India that you could share with us that could kind of inspire us? Anything that kind of...
Yes. So she was staying at the Govardhan Eco Village, which was founded by Radhanath Swami, who's a wonderful really living day saint. I mean, the man is amazing. He has so much love and so much insight and wisdom to share. And Robbie met him a couple of times.
Wow.
And Robbie lives in a very tiny little village in the north of Italy. And weirdly enough, he'd been there for pizza because there's a ashram not so far away. So he had something to talk about, which was wonderful. I think that was a big moment for her. And be in Vrindavan and to spend time with some real elevated people and chanting the names of God and really allowing that process of chanting to energize and liberate you from the inside outwards. You know, so kind of opposite to asana, which is so rigid and formatted, and this is the way to experience liberation. And this is just throw your hands all over the place and sing out of tune and out of rhythm and, you know, clap out of rhythm. This is what I do anyway. You know,
we all do it, don't worry, in our own way.
Yeah, and it's wonderful. And we took this group there, and I really encouraged them to, not in a semi-competition way, but not really, in like a yoga competition way.
Yeah, go on.
Who can out-devote the next person? You know, who can just throw themselves on the floor as many times as they can? Oh, just God have all of me, you know. It was wonderful.
Radhi.
Exactly. I can't wait to get out there again. Yeah.
Oh man, it's making me want to wish that I was there right now. For those, I know that Tommy and Holly are out there and they're isolating in an ashram in Vrindavan. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we're all at home. Like, throw your hands up in the air. Even if you're watching this right now, throw your hands up in the air and just shout Radhe Shyam, Hare
Radhe,
Krishna.
Radhe, Radhe, Radhe.
And you'll see immediately a smile comes to your face, and you know you're off your kind of mental platform so very quickly.
Yes.
So thank you for sharing that. And yeah, Radhanath Swami is such a unbelievable saint, and someone that I wish I could spend more time with. But for sure, if you want to hear more from him, then just Google him. You know, there's tons of content that he's sharing at the moment on different platforms, and so much wonderful bliss that he's emanating on the world. So definitely check out Radhanath Swami. I wanted to see if there were any questions from the crowd. If not, then I just wanted to see if Charlie had any closing thoughts, anything that you wanted to leave us with before we close today's session. So while we're waiting for those questions, and yeah, you go for it. Anything that you want to share, tips for man and woman of our time.
A person who I'm really, really enjoying listening to at the moment, who sadly recently died, and it hit me a lot harder than I thought it was going to. I didn't really realize how much of an impact this person had on my life, is a teacher called Ramdas, who was an American who went over to the States.
Motion detected in the front yard.
Incredibly profound experience, and came back and started lecturing, doing talks, not really, so lecture sounds very formal, about the experiences he had and the lessons that he learned. And he's got so much humility, this man. He's such an inspiration in the way that he communicates himself. And really the thing that I love about him the most, I think, is he doesn't take himself seriously. He goes, it's all divine play. Like my little dramas, it's also divine play. It's all good. I don't have to get too upset about me getting my knickers in a twist about this or that, about the other. He just goes, it's all a leader. It's all just, it's just is. Just enjoy it, or don't, whatever, but just be. Just don't get too caught up on anything. And he's got some really wonderful stuff. Ramdas, I really enjoy him, and his sort of lineage of people have got some powerful teachers in it. Was that what you wanted me to do? I forgot what the question was.
No, just to ask, you know, any tips for time, tips for man and women of our time.
Oh,
so listen to Ramdas was one.
Yeah, listen to Ramdas is one. And if you find yourself thinking too much, be of service. Be of service. How can I help somebody else? Like shift the focus away from you. And I know it seems so counterintuitive to solving all of your problems, but I promise you it actually works. I've been doing it for 12 years, this practice, on a daily basis, as much as I possibly can. And
Beautiful.
The difference was so profound in a very short period of time, from starting to going through into this. And I really believe if you wholeheartedly let go and let God, surrender to what is, be of service, and you know, try and associate yourself with beautiful people, and try and witness yourself. Don't get caught up in the drama. Try and witness yourself. Your life will transform. You know, if you find yourself to be somebody who gets quite caught up in the thinking, be of service, let go, and let God. You know, selflessness, love, and devotion are the three core things that have transformed my life. How can I be selfless, not about me? How can I be loving, not based in fear? How can I offer myself up to a purpose greater than myself?
Wow, wow. I hope you guys took notes. If not, then luckily this is still available on Instagram for another 24 hours. I've also recorded it, so it'll be up on YouTube, and I'll send the links in my bio for all the previous conversations that I've had. So please do check all those out. If you want to hear more from Charlie, if you want to connect up with him more, then how can people do that? What would be the best platform for people to connect with you?
You can message me on the Humble Warrior London Instagram, or there's also a Facebook, or message me and I'll happily take your telephone number and we can chat. Like WhatsApp's great for me. I really like that personal thing.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Charlie. Thank you all so much for watching. Later tonight, we're going to have another session with my good friend Chirag, the Lotus Coach, who's a personal coach, and we're going to be speaking about flourishing from within. So I'm excited to find out what that is. It's going to be an exciting conversation. But hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day. Continue to be blessed, continue to be strengthened, continue to be happy in your life right now. And looking forward to seeing you all very, very soon. All the best. Thank you, Charlie.
Radhe, Radhe.